Join us in a festival that promises to be extraordinary, because Bali is extraordinary.
Hello everyone, welcome to Ubud Writers and Reader Festival 2021, and this year the festival returns with the theme Mulat Sarira, which is drawn from Balinese Hindu philosophy, and from 8 until 17 October we will explore self-reflection, cultural introspection, and humanity, examining our who we are and what divide and what unite us and what drives our action. So my name is Juli Sastrawan. In this session called Navigable Ink, I will as a moderator, and we will do conversation, talk with Jennifer, the author of Navigable Ink. It's Jennifer Mackenzie. So she is a poet, a writer, and now she in Australia, and she has history like quite totally unique, because I read her book, and we will talk about Indonesian, Pramoedya, Indonesian history and stuff. That's so interesting, and I can't wait to talk with her. So we will just start the conversation with Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Julie. Lovely to be here with you.
Yeah, how's it going there?
Well, we're in lockdown here, which we've been in for about nearly 2 years on and off. So it's a strange time all round.
All right. So Jennifer, I read your book, The Navigable Ink. I totally like it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. When I read that one, the poetry, the book, and it looked like you are so close, like attached with Indonesia,
Yes.
because you write like Indonesia in several perspectives. It's not only about the place like Bogor, Banten, and stuff that you write, but also the people, and also like the rich history I can see through your poetry. So it's just nice, like a great chance for me to talk with you about this book.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe, yeah, first question, before we talk about Navigable Ink, maybe I want to ask you, like little bit step back. When did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer?
I think probably when I was about 16 or 17, I had a wonderful art teacher at the time, and Les Cosatz, who's was quite a well-known Australian artist, as it happened. And so I became very engaged with painting. And so, yes, so at that time it was almost a choice. I knew I wanted to be some kind of artist. I think in many ways through meeting him and the way he lived. He had a studio in the inner city of Melbourne, and I lived in the outer suburbs, and it was very dull and not a particularly interesting place to be. And I remember at the time thinking his life seemed extremely interesting, and it was something that I wanted to do. And so it was a choice really of art or writing. And I made the choice to writing because I think I was a lot better at it than I really was at art. But I still love art and am very engaged with it, going to exhibitions when we can, of course, and reading about it and so on.
Ah,
So yes, it's been a long time actually. Yes.
but when did you come first time in Indonesia? Did you meet directly with Pramoedya in 1993, or just there is some couple like before? Did you meet Pramoedya? You come to Indonesia, like
Oh,
how did you meet Indonesia? Maybe.
yes, yes. So there's two parts to that question. Yes, and so firstly, I came to Indonesia way back in 1975. So
Oh.
it was the first time that I'd ever left Australia, and I travelled to Bali and Java. And it was quite an extraordinary experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I could share with you that when I went to Yogyakarta, I had what we call, I suppose, an almost deja vu feeling, as if I'd really
Yeah.
been in the city before. It's not a feeling that's happened to me very much, but it was quite an intense feeling of kind of knowing the place in a way. It was strange because I'd never been there. It was a totally new. But in the time I spent there, it had an enormous impression. I think the landscape, especially the people, the culture, it really made an enormous impression. And it's something that hasn't left. So even the most recent time when I came to Bali, just a few years ago now, I felt the same excitement in a way that I felt way back then. And I think, I can't remember who the writer is, but a well-known writer who said, your obsessions are a gift. And I think that I've come to see that it's something where it's a way of connecting my poetry to a subject that really consumes me, fascinates me. And to the second part about Pramoedya, unfortunately, I didn't meet him, but how I came to get the manuscript of Aris Balik, or Cross Currents, was because my supervisor at the University of Melbourne at the time, Professor Charles Koppel, visited Pramoedya in
Oh.
1993, and through him I received this manuscript, a copy of, and at this time, at that stage, Pramoedya was under house arrest or city arrest, and so it was quite a precious thing to receive. And it was a novel I knew nothing about whatsoever. I hadn't
Yeah.
heard of it at all, and it was absolutely fascinating to have that opportunity and to read that wonderful novel and to get a sense of what Indonesia was like in the past, the kind of history, and having characters who were there in Java and in other parts of Indonesia, instead of usually the colonial perspective that usually we get when it comes to the arrival of Europeans or so on in Southeast Asia. It was absolutely amazing. And so that is, although I didn't think at the time I'd be writing a collection of poetry, inspired by that, but that was the beginning of it. And it stayed with me, that novel. You know, it's incredible.
Okay, and then what the things that you that make you like a aha moment, like I I have to write about Indonesians, like because this and that, like what makes you feel like to write Indonesian subject?
Well, I think it goes back further to the book before this one,
Mm.
Borobudur.
Oh, the
And
Borobudur.
yes, yes. And I presented that in Ubud in 2009 when it came out. With Borobudur, when on that first trip to Indonesia way back in 1975, I went to Borobudur, and at that stage it was being restored. So it was, there were heads of Buddhas lying on the ground. It was a real site in progress to restoration. And the experience of being in that place is just so powerful, so um, meaningful to me, the kind of where it's set, where it is. And so I think it began with that experience uh, of being there. And I was fortunate enough to be given a couple of travelling scholarships for poetry. And so I went back, and I wasn't sure exactly what to do for this, but I found that thinking about Borobudur, I thought I don't really know much about this place at all. And so I decided, well, wanted to find out. And so I began the research about that, how it came to be, and so on. And so I think it's been through a combination of going to Indonesia, being there, experiencing it, and also through the research that I've done for both books. Um, that you know, it's not a kind of quick process. Both books have taken a lot of time, but I've worked towards it in a way, and as long-term projects, they've been really rewarding.
Yeah, I can see it through the Navigable Ink that you quite put like rich research in the poetry, such as the history you write Banten also, and then some places in Indonesia. I think that's you did it like not in the short time. My question is,
Yes.
how long you make the navigable in poetry?
Yes, well, as I just said, it wasn't something that happened when I first came across Aris Balik, because it was many years later. So
Mm,
after Borobudur came out, and I had the opportunity to travel to Indonesia and appear in Ubud and so on. And that was a wonderful opportunity because I met so many other writers and artists who were perhaps working in similar areas, writing about Asia in various interesting ways. And that was incredibly stimulating and engaging. And so, in a way, I think this book is a kind of tribute to the many people I met over
yeah.
the years through that initial chance of coming to Ubud. And at the time, I felt, oh, I'd like to do another book
Mm,
on Indonesia because the interest kept coming. I'd read more and more interesting works of fiction and poetry,
mm,
and I'd because I had been engaged with Pramoedya's work for so long and found him such an inspiring person and writer, I thought that I'd try this, but it was quite a slow process. And it took a long time to get to the point where I felt I could do this book.
Oh,
So yes, it's you have to be patient sometimes.
yeah. During writing the book, the Navigable Ink, do you have like a funny or unforgettable experience? Maybe you can share to us
During the
because it's quite
writing.
long. Yeah.
Oh yes, I think it was probably when I worked out that I could start using Aris Barlick as a kind of basis for
Oh.
this book, because I'd written a few poems and I was
Mhm.
still trying to work out how it would go. And then uh, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, a fellow poet, who was also interested in this period, and he suggested, "Oh, why don't you go back and look at that again?" And I thought, goodness, well, perhaps I could. And so that was one really extraordinary experience that kind of gave me the structure for how I could go on. So that was one thing. I think another was meeting some of the people that I've dedicated poems to in
Yeah.
the book, Made Bayak,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I saw. And
yes,
Elisa also. You write
yes,
Elisa.
that's right.
Yeah.
So that was really important because I could see a connection between what they were doing in some respects and Pramoedya. And so I thought that was really, I think, as you say, a moment where I thought,
Yeah.
yes, it can come into the present. It doesn't necessarily need to be a historical, but it can come through to the present with those artists. So I think those two things, Julie,
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
especially important. Yes.
That's nice. Yeah, as you said, I also found those name like Elisa, Madebaya, and
Yes.
some of them, and mostly they talk different subject, like one about environmental, and then the other ones about like woman
Yes.
emancipation or something. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. That's right. So I
and
thought that was a nice addition to the book to have those poems. Yeah.
yeah, and then I saw one also like for your uncle.
Yes. Yes. Um,
So your uncle um, is what's called have like big value in your life, I think. So it makes you choose to add him, or it's like what's experience that you have with your uncle. So you think that this is I need to put this in poetry because it's also relate with his history in 1945, I think,
yes. Yes.
1975.
Yes. That's right. Thank you, Julie. My father um, uh, told me the story, or told the family the story of what happened to his brother. And what my father did actually was go back to meet people who knew what happened or had heard what had happened to him. And so he came back and told the story. And I think that because it was something that distressed my father enormously, and it was something that never left him really. And so I think I became aware over time that this connection, in a way, to the region was part of my upbringing in a way. And I think the first time I realised this was when I was actually in Sumatra and I was at Lake Mananjau. And in the Borobudur, there's a poem that I wrote about that experience where some engineers were talking to me one night and they were saying, oh, how this botanist had wandered out into the jungle and had never been found. And I wrote a poem about that, and after some time I thought that there was a connection, a poetic connection in a way I was making with my uncle. And then when I read Pramoedya's wonderful novel, The Fugitive, which is set during World War II, I thought this was the same contemporary time frame and was suggesting a rather tragic outcome to the hero of the book. And so when I wrote that poem, and mostly I tried to not put myself in a way too much forward in these books about Indonesia, but I thought in this case it would be nice to dedicate the poem to him and his memory.
All right. So do you hear from Indonesian reader about your book, or Pramoedya fans that send you a message or review your book so far?
Not so far, no, because I was really hoping, of course, to be able to come to Indonesia and read it there. And it's a bit difficult at the moment for people to connect across countries. So it's been reviewed in Australia quite widely, which was good. But of course, you're looking for the engagement with Indonesia. Far more so, of course.
Okay.
Yes, so not yet. Hopefully that'll come.
Hopefully. And I remember in one poetry, I think it's the title Ganesha to Lost View, that
Yes.
you use Indonesian word there in one line mixed with English.
Yes.
Rather than use English, you prefer to use Indonesian word like Sakti,
Yes.
rather than magic power or strong power, but you choose
Yes.
Indonesian. Do you have like special reason about that? It's happened also in some part, like you use Dewa rather than God, or
Yes.
that kind of example.
Yes, I think because that's closer to the experience. Whereas we don't really have that word in English.
Okay.
It has a different resonance. And the Ganesha poem is based on an episode from Pramoedya's novel, and he uses the word Shakti.
Oh.
So it felt appropriate to use that because we don't really have the same kind of
Oh.
meaning that Shakti has. Yeah.
Okay. But it's also happened in poetry with the Kalimantan title. You use like
Yes.
hutan rather than forest. So
Yes.
it's kind of your style.
Yes.
Jennifer?
I like to do that a little bit
Yeah.
because in that case, in that first part of the poem, which is dedicated to Emanuela Shinta, and the Ranu Wellum website, I think uses that expression. So
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted to continue, and I think also I put klotok for the boat because
Yeah.
that's a boat that's special to that
Oh,
region. So a little bit, I think I've done that when I thought
okay.
it was kind of appropriate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But
Mm.
that's nice,
Oh,
Jennifer.
good. Thank you. I'm glad you like
Did, did,
it.
did you expect something through poetry? People will do something or got inspired uh, from your poetry. It's like, do you have kind of expectation, Jennifer?
I wouldn't say so, but I hope that
Oh yeah.
I couldn't really say how other people will respond to it,
Mm,
but I think it's exciting to explore these different,
yeah.
the history of a place.
Mm,
I mean, I just feel I love the regional connection. I think it's a
mm,
shame that we often are supposed to look just in our backyards, and
mm,
I think it's kind of wonderful to explore these connections, make connections with people from other countries. I mean,
yeah.
it makes your life so rich.
Mm,
And I do know that once when I was in Myanmar at a conference and read some poetry and gave a little talk, that some young writers there said they found the idea of writing history, their own history, um, an
mm,
inspiring thing. Um, and certainly when I've been in Indonesia before, it's been really wonderful. Reading to a number of, especially young people who are interested in what you could do, and but I hope so. I hope
yeah.
that I can offer something to others. Definitely.
Yeah. Because sometimes, not sometimes, maybe mostly, word is the weapon, I think.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah.
Well, certainly with this book, I thought that there's so much in Pramoedya's work that speaks to
Yeah.
us today. Really
Yeah.
important things politically, environmentally, and also I was also thinking in Australia, he's not so well known at the moment, which is kind of I was a bit surprised talking to other writers. Some didn't know his work, whereas others had. Some had actually met him. There's an Australian poet, Gig Ryan, who did meet him in Jakarta, and other people who were part of a campaign to get him released from prison. So I think all those things form part of the book, and
Mm,
I think it's wonderful to look at a writer who was obviously local and engaged with Indonesian history, but speaks to the world, I think, to important issues
mm,
of
yeah.
yes, freedom
Yeah.
and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You are brave through your poetry that I read. That when you were in Indonesia, do you got like violence, or something happen because during your uh, visit in Indonesia, it's after 1993.
Let me think.
Do you got
No,
like negative um, message or something because you wrote um, this kind of topic?
no, not me, not personally. No,
Oh.
I mean, when I visited Indonesia during the Suharto years,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, there wasn't anything directly
Mm.
involved, that I was involved in, but there were senses of things like you'd be in the bus and there'd be signs up about killing criminals or
Yeah.
something like that. So there'd be signs, things that you'd notice, um, but not something. No, it was more, I think, um, through reading Pramoedya, reading writers like Ben Anderson was
Oh.
very important as a source of inspiration or knowledge. So, yes, it's more through what I've heard from other
Oh.
people or what I've read, but not a personal thing, no.
Oh. Okay. Thank
So it's
you,
not
Jennifer.
that, yes, it's not a
Yeah.
negative impression I have of.
Oh. So, what's your like favorite book from Pramoedya? Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, something happened there. I don't know what.
Yeah. So we continue, Dimas?
Yes.
Okay, so okay. Okay, so I have to re-ask the question.
Okay.
Which last question, Dimas? Like favorite book? Okay. So, Jennifer, what is your uh, favorite book from Pramoedya? Maybe you can share to us. I read some
Oh,
of his work, but not all.
no. Well, I think I'd have
Yeah.
to go with Aris Barlick, as it
Oh,
made
okay.
such a big impression. But of course, I do like the tetralogy and
Oh, yeah.
also The Fugitive, yes. So I'm sure there are other books which of his I haven't read, but yes, so I'd go with Aris Barlick, I think. Julie.
Okay. Uh, th- does Arus Balik like give you a strong, like stimulate you to write the Navigable Ink much?
Yes, yes, definitely. I
Oh.
think because I think the one thing that I used as I was writing the book was the title. I think the title Navigable
Mm.
Ink came first before I'd even written anything. And I
Oh.
think and I think what I love about Pramoedya's novel is that there's so much sea in it. There's
Mm.
ocean, there's land. You know, you
Oh.
get such a sense of the country, and so I think yes, I connected with that. And I really, in this book, I really wanted to give a sense of the sea, of the ocean, of moving through places,
Mm.
and to include places that he mentions in the book.
Oh.
And so the north coast of Java, going
Yeah.
to up to Aceh and
Mm.
eastern Indonesia. Um, but also, it was nice to bring Bali into it as well through
Mhm.
Made Bayak
Yeah.
and his art. So I think it was that it was the water imagery that was really important,
Oh.
and that I could so Navigable Ink in a way kind of
Mm.
connects to that and the islands which make up the country.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, it's nice.
Oh, that's why maybe you also mention like some title of Pramudia book, like Ken Arok, and then you add the history there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think in many ways, although I didn't realize it at the time, that Borobudur and Navigable Ink have many connections.
Mm.
And so Borobudur is an earlier history of the region. And so this kind of flows into that. And it's in Borobudur, you have the architect and what kind of circumstances did he work in
Mm.
designing that monument. And it's the same with Pramoedya. What kind of conditions is he living with? You know, what was he responding to? And so I think this, and it's really interesting that he goes back into history. I mean, it's quite extraordinary, really, that he took that step. And so going back to look into history as a way of saying something about the present, so that it's a kind of refraction through time. And so that kind of thing really interested me, and I hope that I had a similar idea with Navigable Ink.
Yeah. All right. That's nice. Do you have next project what kind of writing? Do you still write poetry that you can share to us? Maybe what's your next project?
Yes, I'm hoping to do something. I don't know if it'll be 100% about Indonesia, but I think a part of it might be. I'd like to do something about Eastern Indonesia. It's a bit vague at the moment. I've just got a few ideas, and
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to hearing from Amitav Ghosh, who'll be a guest at the festival, and his new book, The Nutmeg's Curse, because I'm very interested in the research and work that he's done in that area and his work on climate change and so on. So, yes, so a few plans in place. So that's exciting too.
Okay, it's nice to know that you still keep the fire to write the poetry.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yes, well,
Okay.
it's a wonderful thing to do, and I feel really blessed with the people I've met and the opportunities that it's brought to me. So, yeah, it's a wonderful thing to be doing.
Okay. Okay, I have a special request. Maybe you can read us here one of poetry that you like the most, or I think I need to request one.
Yes.
Which one do you prefer? Request
I'll
from me,
go.
or you choose?
I'll go with your request, Julie. I
Okay.
think so.
Okay, because um, let me check. Because we talked before about the Ganesha lost to few.
Yes,
How about that?
that'd be lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll read. Yes, it's one of my favorites actually in the book.
Okay.
Yes. So this is Ganesha lost to view. 400 sampan carrying soldiers made shore at Panjan Island. Only a few fishermen appeared in front of their armed adversaries, the rest having fled. The mangrove trees flourished in such tropical balm. Hidden in their density, an unfinished Ganesha, a scattering of chisels lay near its curling trunk. Spit on it, someone ordered. Touch its trunk. It has no Shakti. Nervously, they touched the statue. Nervously, they knocked it down. Cold to the touch, abandoned, just a lump of stone. Ganesha heaved, rolled, pushed, through the brambles and roots of the swampland, up a small hill and out to sea. It took a long time.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, thanks. Yes, an interesting episode in Aris Barlick, and it's quite a moving poem, I think.
Yeah, because the first time I realized when read your poetry, you like mix the word, and I just like, oh, that's so nice. And because you not put it in the right order sometimes, uh, like in one page only 3 word, or sometimes
Yes,
4 word. Yeah, it's like
yes.
you play with that kind of style. Do you have like some people that inspire you to do it, or it's kind of your your style that you just found yourself, like you play with on the word.
Oh, you mean with the Indonesian words or the
Yeah.
spacing?
Or
Both?
first maybe the Indonesian word, and later maybe with the style that you put, like spacing, like not put in the quiet same order.
Yes. I think with the Indonesian word, I think it is very much when the English word really isn't appropriate because of the connotations, the meaning of the word. And I think that nowadays we can Google the word very easily, so
Mhm.
it's not so much an issue. But yes, I think sometimes it's been, yes, quite nice just to add a word here and there. And sometimes, as you say, it does relate to space. And I think quite a few poets are very much aware of the space of the page, the white page, how that may look. And sometimes you can just put a few words on a page. It's a kind of, it's almost like an interlude in a way, a little break before you go on and go to something else. I think it can be quite effective to use the space of the page. I think, for example, in the Kalimantan, the second part has just a few words, but I think that that works quite well as a kind of interlude between the first and third poem. So I do like to do that, and I think it can be quite useful to, the visual aspect of the book, how the book appears
Yeah.
to the reader is important as well.
Yeah, because when I see also sometimes that shocking only one word, like
Yes.
like like to close the poetry, you just use one word. Just yeah, I like that.
Oh,
It's
good.
gives you
Thanks.
a feeling when I read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's certainly that's the idea to do that. So it's not just like you suddenly look and say, "Oh, why are there just two words there or something?" That there is a kind of design to it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's it, Jennifer. Thank you for the time. That was
Th-
a nice discussion. I
yes, it
still have
was.
I have still some question to ask, but maybe in the next time, or maybe if we meet next time. I hope.
Yes, I hope so too. It
Yeah.
was lovely to
Okay.
meet you and talk with you.
Yeah. Same with me. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
All right. That's it, everyone. Thank you for watching this session, and thank you for supporting the Yayasan uh, Mudra Saraswati Patrons Program, and to the festival partner who made the Ubud Writers and Reader Festival uh, possible. Follow Ubud Writers Festival on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or visit ubudwritersfestival.com for more information about the program. Thank you.